It's time to some up, huh?
Warning, there may be explicit language in today's episode. Viewer discretion is advised.
My name is Mike Kosminski, and I'm an EVP and a co-host of Tailgate Talks. So I was in practicum for Jim Wirtz. Shout out, Jim. And Richie and I had the objective to go interview Coach Soboleski, who got, I believe at the time, her 500th win or something like that. And the interview was great. Everything was set up great. And so we walk outside Macomb, and Richie stops me for a second. He goes, "Hey, Mike, I kind of had this idea for a little sports show."
I'm Richie Armagost, and I am the technical director for Tailgate Talks. So was it like a year and a half ago? Both Mike and I were part of TV practicum. We were both given the sports director role. I took on more of the newscast part of sports, and I felt like we could have done more. So I looked into what we could do in the studio, looked into the Edinboro Now YouTube channel, and we used to do a sports talk show. And why don't we try that?
And wanted to run it by you, and he described everything he wanted to do with it. And I was like, I really like that idea. That sounds like a fantastic idea. And he had to run it by with Jim, and Jim liked it. And then I said, I might have somebody to be on the first show.
Whenever I met Alex, I think there was a pretty good trust bond.
Yeah, it's currently, holy cow, there's a fly in here or something flying around. It is 1:37 p.m. It is Tuesday, December 10th. Mike and I, as if you couldn't tell, Mike's the one behind the camera. No, there's actually just no one holding the camera, it's just floating there. Mike and I are on our way to get some food right now, and then we are about to undergo a very long day of filming. So, ready to get after it. We haven't had a big film day in a long time, actually, so this is actually probably gonna be pretty fun. It's finals week. We're all kind of coming to grips with the fact that the semester is almost over, and that I'm not gonna be up here next semester because I'll be back home doing my internship. So trying to make this week last however we can, trying to savor all of it. So I'm actually really happy that we have a lot of stuff to record today, because it'll make today feel important, and it'll make today feel probably a little bit longer. So my name is Alex Brown, and I'm one of the 3 co-hosts of Tailgate Talks. So I originally got approached by Mike. We had become friends loosely, not like super close friends or anything, but we had become friends freshman year from our journalism ethics class that we had together. And we had shared our mutual passion for sports at that point, but we didn't really talk a whole lot outside of class or anything like that. And then come sophomore year, start of sophomore year, sometime around September, mid-September, late September, something like that, Mike comes up to me as we had kind of started to talk and become more like friends outside of class. And he asked me if I wanted to be a guest on this little sports show that him and Richie were doing. And Richie was also in the class. I loosely knew who he was as well. But he approached me and asked me if I wanted to be a guest on the show. And I said, sure. Why not? It sounds fun. I've wanted to do a sports podcast for a while, so I'll come on and talk for a little bit. And then, you guys, people have heard this story a bunch of times, starts going. We realize the chemistry we had together on camera. Richie kind of goes on to the more technical side of things, so it becomes me and Mike, and we're the 2 co-hosts of the show. And I really hoped at that point, after the first 2 or 3 episodes, that this was something that we would keep doing. The beginning's always the hardest, so we had done 2 or 3 in consecutive weeks, and I was really hoping that it would keep going, but I had no idea that it would end up like this.
My name is Joe Bachman. I am the floor director for Tailgate Talks. Well, it was back in, I believe, September. or October of 22, Alex texted me one day and he asked if I could run some cameras. He didn't specify what it was for, but I said, okay, yeah, I'm pretty familiar with that. Sounds like something simple, I really didn't have anything to expect. I didn't really know what it was, or I think I was familiar that it was some kind of sports thing, but I think I didn't know that until I got here. But yeah, I never expected any of this. I thought it'd be a one-time thing, but I was pleased to see to get a position and kind of just have it, take off from there.
My name is Haley Alexander. I'm audio director for Tailgate Talks. Mike did, actually. He texted me and asked if I would be interested in helping out with doing like audio, also maybe running the teleprompter, and yeah.
I'm going to show you something specifically. So we're going up here, right?
Oh,
And
yep.
we look at the light. Hopefully this doesn't break when I go up here, and hopefully I don't fall. But we still have confetti on the fucking light.
Yeah.
This is way before you joined.
Yeah.
We set off 2 confetti poppers in January 2023, and there was still confetti on the light.
Type shit.
I can't believe this. This isn't even for the vlog. This is literally for the documentary. But this is behind the scenes footage because we need behind the scenes footage.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, dog.
Hey, you wanna know what that is? I'm gonna cut this part out. You wanna know what that is? That's a shotgun.
That's a shocker.
That's a shocker.
That's a shocker.
Another show. I know that can sound a little cocky, but it's just another show. And yeah, one take, you can't screw up, or you're done. Because at the time, we were on the Edinboro Now channel, so it was the school's channel. So that there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure.
Yeah, so the live thing was really exciting. Obviously, at that point, Spring 23 in general was a really fun, interesting time outside of Tailgate Talks and within Tailgate Talks for us as people.
But it's I feel like if you don't put yourself in pressure situations with something you're doing, then you're at a certain bar and you're not going to get over the bar. Of course, one of the things that was had more pressure. We'll get to it later, but yeah, it was just another show.
It was a great time in general. I feel like morale was really high. I feel like we all were really encouraged by the fact that we had managed to keep this thing going from, September or October of 2022, and we were still going strong, not missing a single episode through the spring of 23.
Now, I would say the only thing I was nervous about was getting the stream on time, but I had so much faith in Nathaniel because he's just phenomenal at what he does. Richie too. I don't want to leave Richie hanging, even though he doesn't pay me. But I had faith in Richie and Nathaniel. They're great at what they do. So of course I was nervous because with technology and internet, you never know. But I think the main thing that just got me through that was just, like I said, treating it like another show and just the trust that I had everybody working.
Going into that, it just felt kind of right. It really did. It felt like the right time to try something new because we had been going for a decent amount of time at that point. So, it felt like the time to really try something big. And Nathaniel was really just a huge part of that. He helped us so much with just even helping us become more independent, really understanding all of this equipment that we use, this, unbelievable equipment that we are very blessed to have access to. So he really did help a lot with that. And without him, we wouldn't have been nearly in the place we were at that point and now, quite frankly, with the knowledge that we have. So shout out to him because he was a big deal, especially in that kind of infancy stage where, obviously we'd been going for a while, but we were still in a very small stage by the time spring 23 hit and he rolled around. So he really helped with a lot of that stuff. And that day was just awesome.
Of course, you can't forget about our great floor director that helped us the most that day, getting the live going, Mr. Joe Bachman.
It was a really good day because it just kind of felt like I got to like prepare myself, because being live is so different than being, just pre-recorded. There's just handling it, and I know we didn't have a ton of activity, but like having the chat room open on our phones while we were live, it's a different experience than sitting in here and recording something knowing that you're gonna have time to edit it, you're gonna have time to touch things up. The live thing is just raw. Like, you just go. You literally, we sat down and Nathaniel was like, cool, 3, 2, 1, go. And we were rolling. So it was special. It was a really fun day, for sure.
So, as everybody knows, and maybe you don't, maybe this is the first time that you are hearing about this, I did consider leaving Edinboro. It was rocky. Just had a sense that I just didn't want to be here anymore. I was considering transferring, and it's tough, man. It's tough, man. But what you do is to get yourself through that is, first of all, everybody that is around you to help you get through it, and be yourself. If you stay to yourself, then the people that actually care about you, that like you, it will help you get through it all. And just I feel like everybody, at least at one point in their college life, has been through adversity, and it sucks. It really does. But there's a reason I'm still here, because I know for a fact that if I would have made that decision and went through with it and left, that it would have been the biggest mistake of my entire life, because I'm having the best time in my entire life now since I came back from the for spring of 24.
Yeah, so fall 23 was a bit chaotic. Again, nothing to really get into on camera for the people to see. Just, it was a bit of a chaotic time. Things were going on behind the scenes, not like within our crew or anything like that, but just in like our personal lives and stuff like that. There was some chaos, so obviously that kind of decreased, some of the vibes. The vibes weren't always great, at least within ourselves, not like it was affecting everyone else or anything, but, it was chaotic, it was different, there was just some adversity being faced. And, I really think the way that we kept it together and kept it going during that time of, things being kind of crazy is we all had the same vision. We all knew that we wanted to keep doing this. At this point, our crew had expanded a little bit. Me and Mike on the show out here, being the camera guy, being the on-camera personalities. And then at that point, we had Richie, Joe, and Haley all back there. And we actually had like what you could consider like what we would need as a full staff. Richie was running the switcher, Joe was on teleprompter, Haley was on audio. We kind of had we had a really, really seamless kind of production, because everyone just had one job. No one had to be balancing things. Joe or Richie wasn't running back and forth, switching cameras, scrolling on the teleprompter, correcting our audio levels. It was, everyone had a job. Everyone just had to focus on that job. And obviously, I don't really think the quality has decreased since, Haley graduated or anything like that. And, I think we still run a pretty good production here, but obviously that made it much more seamless. And I think that kind of made it easier for us to keep it together too, because everyone felt like they were able to just focus on their thing. And when we were able to do that and just put out good content, we kind of knew everything was going to be all right.
But yeah, and as for Cody, so it's funny. So I was aware of Cody, but not because of him being the former tennis coach here at Edinboro, but because of his Twitter presence on Twitter because of the Pirates. And I knew he had some wild takes usually, and a lot of people didn't like him. And Nathaniel approached me about it. He's like, yeah, this Cody guy, he has a lot of followers on Twitter. And I was like, Cody who? And he said, Duncan. And I was like, no way. He's like, yeah, he's the tennis coach here. And I was like, why is this the first time I'm hearing about this? And then it's funny because the next time I listened to Rum Bunter, which is a Pirates podcast, he was on it, and they was talking about him being the tennis coach at Edinboro, and I'm like, well, I'll be damned. I guess I just wasn't paying attention on Twitter. But yeah, Cody was phenomenal. Definitely brought a lot of presence to discussing the Pirates. And of course, at the time was the Steelers, Kenny Pickett. That's just the entire show we've talked about. What we talked about on that show. But yeah, that was fun. And athlete spotlight. So I can add this into the bloopers or whatever, but I'm gonna see if I could try to remember every single one in order. So Matt, Kaylee, Jill, Dom, Caroline, Bailey. Oh, I can't. In order, I can't. But Ant, Richie, Speegs, Reed, Annie, Jillian, Easton, Berna. Counting coaches, I guess too. Gary K. Ike, Hulse, CJ, Carly, Thomas, Kate, Joey, Shady, and Elo. I know I forgot one. And if I did, I'm sorry. It's just a lot of interviews trying to remember from the top of my head. But yeah, no, we like to ask this question with a lot of people on the show. Oh, and I guess Bo. Oh yeah, Bo too. But he wasn't a spotlight. He was on the quarterback video, which was also phenomenal. But yeah, spotlight. So we like to ask the question a lot with our crew: is what was the point where it started to catch on around campus? And yeah, you can look at the TV because Penn West wrote an article about us, and that certainly helped. But to be totally honest with you, I think it's the athlete spotlight because you think about a lot of people know these athletes, like almost everybody. So like, and they were posted on their Instagrams, and people will share, follow, like, and all that. So like, it keeps catching on and catching on and catching on. So yeah, and so many things just led on to all of that. Of course, Matt getting our first attention on the Penn West Instagram, and then Kaylee, who then got Jill and Dom for us, which then eventually led Dom to being a co-host, and then Jill getting us Bailey, who then hosted our show, because I suck at losing. I suck at bets, but we won't talk about that. And then it just kept going and going. Of course, I knew Ant for years, so it was great to talk to him again. And then opens up the opportunities to talk to Gary Kay and Coach Nolf, which again, we're sorry, Coach Nolf, it didn't air. The audio sucked. That's on us. But yeah, it was just like the way I like to look at Spotlight is that it's a chain reaction to events that kept happening for good reasons, and it just kept going and going and going. So yeah, Spotlight's just been great, and hopefully that by the time we record this, I hope we get more in, get more interviews in before we graduate. But yeah, it's been a great time.
Now, obviously, Fall 23 was obviously the birth of Athlete Spotlight, which, man, I don't even know where to start with Spotlight, honestly. Like, it may just seem like a funny, goofy segment where we get to, blindside guests and, ask them questions about themselves and stuff like that. But, like, it really, Spotlight means a lot to me personally, and I know it means a lot to Mike as well. Obviously, it started with, Matt Carlisle was the first guy we had on, and I thought he was a great start because he's just a real guy, and he just, he was just him, and that was a great start. That was a great way to set the precedent for how we do this here. But The big one, obviously we had Dom and Jill on the show. Shout out to both of them. Those are my people right there. Obviously, Dom and Jill come on the show, and me and Mike both knew Dom, and we thought he might be like a good guy to have on the show with us. But then we just it really was like cemented because we had so much fun with him and Jill. Honestly, Jill could come. Jill could come on anytime she wants to. I'm gonna be totally honest. She was great too. But we just kind of it was kind of like when me and Mike started doing this. It was kind of like another instance of the undeniable chemistry, where we knew that what we were doing was going to work and that it would be something that we would all enjoy. So
I didn't think this would be as much of a team effort as much as it is. And for us to go on, for Penn West to feature us in articles and for us to go on TV, that's pretty cool.
I think the progress of the show is like incredible and amazing. I think like watching Mike and Alex talk about sports, and you can tell that they're really passionate about what they like to do. And I think with them going on Critical Eye with Isaac, and not only did they get to do that the first time, but they get to do it the second time, I think is really cool.
Comparing it to the last time I answered this question, I'm kind of satisfied to see that the fact that we made so much progress and the progress that we did is almost in a way kind of not surprising anymore, in a good way. It's kind of like not until you take a step back and be like, wow, this has gone a lot of progress in a certain amount of time period.
I get kind of nervous thinking about it, honestly. I still kind of get like chills. Hearing about that, because before we got on TV, Mike had made the connection with Isaac, and we had him here. You're yelling at me for skipping over Kaylee. That was the same show. There you go. But we had Isaac on the show, and he's kind of born for it in a way. You hear his voice, his cadence, his delivery, his knowledge. Like, it's just kind of like, it's like, oh my God, like this guy is made for this. So we had him on. He talked to us about us coming on to Erie News Now, doing Critical Eye with him on Bold Predictions Thursday, which was an awesome segment for your first time on TV, by the way. I thought it was incredible. But yeah, honestly, not something I expected to happen to us, like, ever within the near future. So just hearing that was a possibility even was unbelievable. And the fact that we got to go on during such a big time in sports, like I said, it was Thursday night Bold Predictions. It was in the heat of the NFL season, coming up on playoffs. There was so many amazing things to talk about, and Isaac even threw an unscripted question at me, which kind of took me off for a second, but it was awesome. I appreciated him for that.
So I like to say that I treated it like another show, but there was definitely nerves, I will say. There was definitely nerves. I just woke up just like, oh, today's the day. Like, this could be make or break, and this could be finally where our hard work pays off, because let me let you in on a little secret. I do edit everything. There's some nights where I don't get any sleep. Some nights I barely get, I sleep a little bit because I stay up all night editing stuff because I got to get it out. It is what it is. That's how you keep building. That's how you keep working. Because of course I gotta do my school stuff in the beginning of the day, because that takes priority first, because that's the reason why I'm here. I got to graduate. But yeah, just going through that day, so a couple people were asking me, "Are you nervous? You're nervous?" And I'm just like, "Nah, I'm fine. I'm fine." Even Professor Dr. Thompson was asking me, "You good? You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's another day." I even I even texted my dad that day, and I said, "I need 15K so I can drop an F-bomb on TV." And he just sent back 7 question marks. Obviously no, but yeah. So it's just excited that day, and when it came time to get ready, I was just a little nervous in my stomach. It was a little nerve-wracking, and And because, like I said, live, one take. But one person once, so a person asked me one time, what was the difference between the first live Borough Tailgate Talks and the first TV? And I said, yes. So the similarity is, yes, it's live, it's one take. However, if we screwed up on the Borough Tailgate Talks live, we could have went back in there and tried to cut it out. That's possible. Live TV is live TV. You got one shot, and that's it. You're not editing anything out. And this could be your make or break moment, because people know Isaac on Twitter, and if you screw up, you screw up. That's it, and you're not coming back. But yeah. So I was fine when I was in the waiting room. As of course, if you go on my Instagram, there's a video of us waiting in the waiting room. It's a smaller waiting room, and Isaac let us in. And yeah, and then we went mic'd up, still a little nervous, and I'm like, oh my god, this is actually happening. And I'll admit, the second that red light turned on, I know Alex said that all the nerves went away. I froze. I'll be the first one to admit it. I froze, but I definitely recovered. I recovered, and it was just surreal. 'Cause the next day, everybody kept congratulating us, and then the school wrote an article about us, which was just insane. And then on a personal level, and I don't mind talking about this. The fact that something I helped build got on Erie News Now, because of course, if you search my last name on a local news site, there's a personal thing that comes up. And the fact that I helped build something, and it didn't clear it because you can't clear it. It sucks, but you can't clear it. But the fact that also when you search my last name on erienewsnow.com, or you search Tailgate Talks, I pop right up with Alex and Dom. So it was just on a personal level. That's why it was emotional, and that's probably the one day that I wish I could that I could relive again.
Hi everybody, it's Isaac Petcash over at Erie News Now. You know, when I first met Mike and Alex, my expectations were expectations that I would have for any college student trying to find their way. Of course, talent being there, but still also trying to just work, and at times that leads to several mistakes. But I think the two things that I found commendable about both Mike and Alex was, one, their dedication to their craft, and two, their willingness to go the extra mile. And I think by doing both of those things on a day-by-day basis, they've really blossomed into great young broadcasters who I could see moving on to big things someday. So great things, nothing but great things to say for Mike and Alex as they continue along in their college career. You know, when I first brought Mike and Alex on the show, there was some concern as to their level of preparedness, as I would have any concern with any collegiate student, but that concern was quickly washed away when I saw their willingness to explain their answers in depth, give so much detail as to why they were providing their opinions, and certainly they brought a level of professionalism that you don't tend to see from aspiring collegiate broadcasters. So of course would love to have them back on the show and commend them for their hard work in coming on the Critical Eye.
Dom Kaiser, co-host. Yeah, definitely. After we did the athlete spotlight, and I was on as a guest at one point too. Yeah, it definitely popped in my head that it would be pretty sick to come back on, because I enjoy talking. Because I always wondered what it would be like doing the sports podcast, especially in high school. But yeah, I was, when you guys asked me to join, I was pretty excited about it. I was like ready to go. Locked in.
So obviously you see where Mike and Alex took the show and everything. Just from just a little sports show to people knowing about it around campus to going on TV. Where do you want to see the show go from today to in the future? Because obviously Alex wants to be a football coach, win the national championship, and Mike wants to be a wrestler, win the AEW world title. So obviously continuing the show the best we can is is what we want. Where would you like to see the show go from now?
I would just like to see the show grow into something that's more than we're getting recognized off campus. Just like kind of just like grow a bigger fan base, a bigger following, and obviously maybe get the chance to move up to have something like the critical eye, and yeah, just pretty much just even as everyone graduates college and starts their careers, I think this is something that we could definitely continue to do if obviously the time's there, the resources are there, and the viewing is there. Either way, this is still something I enjoy doing.
So, two more things. One, a little bit of a funny question. Talk about the first time you were on Borough Tailgate Talks and when the guys came up with the classic blindside question for the rapid fire.
Probably the hardest question I've ever had to answer in my life. The favorite player on the Edinboro football roster, probably the single hardest question I've ever had to answer, because obviously I love those guys. I love all my guys to death. Love my team. Love my coaches. Narrowing it down to just one is insane. Because you could go like favorite football player like in your friend group, favorite football player to play with, or just like sit in the dining hall with. Yeah, it was. I'm gonna get my revenge one day. I'm gonna get it back one day. But yeah, hardest question I think I've ever had to answer in my life.
I just came up with another one on the fly. No comment. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, Pitt didn't make the tournament. Yeah, whatever.
Well, I won't say I was surprised that it was offered me. I knew once you guys branched off, I kind of figured you would drop just Edinboro students only, because you had to do that when you were at Edinboro, because I couldn't just tune in via Zoom every week, or whoever for that matter be able to tune into Zoom every week. But it was cool. I mean, I think Mike and I talked about it a little bit. Alex and I kind of talked. Actually, it was on a show that I did. Alex and Mike talked about it, and they were kind of like, you know what, you've been here a lot. We should probably just join as a co-host now that we're not just exclusively Borough. So yeah, it was definitely cool. It's fun to be on, that's for sure. It's nice to sit down and talk about sports every week. Especially when you have exciting stuff going on, like, the Pirates losing every year, even though everybody gets their hopes up, or, blockbuster trades that make everybody laugh, or Penn State just absolutely being horrible this year definitely helps the case. So it was a lot of fun to finally be on officially and not just kind of be a week-to-week basis. As for the show, I mean, yeah, now that they're not at Borough, changes things a little bit, but there's definitely, I'll just put it this way, there's a lot that goes on around us. We have Edinboro and Erie up there, so there's a lot going on up there. You have the minor league team, can't even think of the name of it right now. I'm blanking. Hold on. Erie
Seawolves.
The Seawolves. You need the Seawolves up there with the minor leagues, and then you have Pittsburgh right down the road with all the Pittsburgh sports teams that are great besides Pitt basketball, of course. Just throw that in there again. Cleveland's not far away, even though, I'm not really a fan of the mistake by the lake, so I won't go into detail about that. But there's a lot of happening stuff around where we all are based out of. I think the logical thing would be to keep the special going. Well, I will say the couple times that when we started, or whenever you guys started, and you were talking about, branching off into going live, maybe getting on TV, running the specials, the March Madness specials, for me at least, what I was included in, and then the athlete spotlights. It was really cool to see that growth. I know, me personally, my favorite video that we did had to be the second March Madness special. So obviously we did the first one where we recorded in Alex's dorm, I believe. Yeah, Alex's dorm. That one was fun. Landon and I rode up together. Obviously, Greenville is not too far away from Edinboro, but We did get caught up in a lot of snow before and after, which was definitely added to the thrill of it all because we had to drive through pretty much a blizzard on the way home. But as for the special, I mean, the first one was fun, but we kind of had to keep it a little bit more laid back, I'll say, just because we weren't in the studio. We didn't really have as much space to move around and do whatever. But the second one, I think, is where it really opened up because we did have Dom, who's a different personality from you, and Alex, who's a different personality from you and me, and it was a wide range of people covering what they thought would win. And then we also had Landon tune in at the very end with his picks via video. So it really just the mix of people that were in it really added to it. And then it ended up being a great year for March Madness. So it was a lot of fun. Like obviously we were bickering about Texas. I said they couldn't go that far and you thought they could. And then I think that was the year I said McNeese was going to the Sweet 16. And then something else. Alex said something else, but it was just a lot of fun. We took it for what it was worth and had fun with it.
Little bro. Mike's just doesn't make the right picks sometimes, man. He brought this on himself for that, and especially for that insane pick that he took in March Madness when we were doing the March Madness special. Horns down.
Yeah, baby, go Panthers! Up top!
Yeah, Mike's just got to get better, man.
No, it was fun. It was awesome getting Bryce up here. Obviously, I've known Bryce since I was probably like 4 or 5. When we went to the same high school and middle school and everything. So I've known Bryce my entire life. And like Alex said, I wish Landon could come up, but we'll get him up here again. But yeah, I went live on Instagram for the selection show, so you can actually see, and I'm sure I'll put a clip in for this documentary of my reaction when Pitt did not make the tournament, in fact. But just the amount of jokes, the amount of swearing, it was just nothing like it. It was just awesome.
In the disagreements. I don't even remember who won. I think Landon ended up winning, but it was definitely a lot of fun to film and just mess around in the studio. And of course, watch Pitt not make the tournament. I think that really also helped add to the excitement of the special.
All reality, and I have been on a kick recently. I've rewatched that episode a couple times as of late. That show was awesome. Like, seriously underrated, one of the best shows that we've ever done. Because it was just 4 guys just being guys. Like, we were just ripping jokes, making fun of each other, getting mad at each other's bracket picks. Like, it was straight. Like, if you haven't seen that episode, you have to see that episode. It's Tailgate Talks episode 10, not the old Burrow Tailgate Talks. That was the first March Madness special, but Tailgate Talks episode 10 was the second March Madness special, and it was just just an unbelievably funny day. It was an evening. It was Sunday night. It was after the selection show. Bryce and his girlfriend drove up here so that Bryce could film with us. It started blizzarding outside while we were recording, and we had no idea. Then we got outside, and all of our cars were completely buried. But it was just, I really do. I am sad that Landon wasn't able to make it up too, because it would have been even better. But just the 4 of us in this studio just going nuts over March Madness picks. It's an unbelievable show. It's so funny. It's so good. It's so pure. Like, it was amazing.
Because we all enjoy that. And I think that's how you're going to get noticed, is with having fun on shows like that make people laugh, make them feel engaged, and kind of turn it into a competition. People, when you have people compete against one another, it makes them take a little bit more of a interest in what's going on. They do that with rapid fire and the special, of course, with allowing people to join. So those little things will definitely help with getting more people to watch the show and be engaged in the show and care about what's happening with it. So
all right, we did this too. So
just trash on Tailgate basically, and just don't even want to just don't even answer it. Just do whatever you want, basically.
All right.
So, can you comment on the state of Tailgate?
Skip.
I hope it continues to grow and we keep moving that goalpost for our sake. Obviously, in the next few years, it's going to be tough because we're going to be getting started with our lives and where we want to go with our dreams and stuff. But in terms of like 5, 10, 15 years from now, hopefully we can grow the channel where everybody knows our name. And I know TV deal is a little out of stretch. That's the dream. I know, but this is what I like to say about life. Never say never. If people are saying you can't do anything, then screw them. Prove them wrong. That's the way I like to do it.
Yeah, so obviously the closest goal for us right now is get big enough to get monetized would be huge. You know, we saw some pretty instant success from transferring viewers and subscribers from Edinboro now to Tailgate Talks Official. We're somewhere around 200 subscribers right now, I believe, as we're recording this video. But you know, obviously one of the immediate goals is to get monetized. Try and find some local places to get sponsorships from would be awesome. You know, those are kind of the immediate smaller goals because obviously you don't expect, you know, we're not going to be out here like this episode of Tailgate Talks is sponsored by Manscaped. Like nothing like that. Like maybe some small businesses around town. That would be really cool. Even if it's just a small amount, you know, we could give back to the studio. We could do, you know, we could do a lot of things with that. So those are kind of the two like forefront things that are really big for us. And then I'd say over the next year, 1, 2, 3 years, just, you know, continue to grow our platform. Maybe start getting looked at by some sponsors from actual like bigger companies. You know, like I said, not like we're going to be shelling out Manscaped sponsors where we're giving you 20% off your checkout for using the code Tailgate Talks and the checkout. But, you know, just kind of building the brand, getting more recognized, growing the fan base, growing the audience, you know, putting out engaging content so that at least we could get big enough to, like I said, obviously we want to very soon get monetized, but like grow to the point where that AdSense is actually almost like a level of supplemental income for us would be awesome. So that, you know, we could all do our jobs and our careers that we've dreamt of doing, but we could also have this really fun, enjoyable side hustle that we all just have a blast doing. I'd say that's probably the biggest goals in the near future, I would say, at least in my mind. So what would I right now say to myself in 10 to 15 years? Honestly, very simple. Just, I hope you're still just as hungry as you were back then. And I really hope that you still at least talk to some of those people from this time. Because like I said, when I was talking about Athlete Spotlight, you know, so many of those people that I have met directly through Athlete Spotlight, and then the people that they're friends with that I have become friends with after they came on the show, you know, we've, if nothing else, if this show ends, you know, once we graduate, which I really don't think it will, but if this show ends when we graduate and we never do it again, and it just becomes a distant memory, it'll always still stick in my mind because of the amount of people that I have met and become friends with and developed unbelievable connections and memories with. So to me, in 10 to 15 years, if you, for some reason, find yourself watching this video in 10 to 15 years, I hope you're still hungry. I hope you never stopped. I hope you never dimmed your ambitions for anyone. And I hope you kept around the people that are important to you, because honestly, I couldn't be more thankful for them. So yeah.
Please be AEW or WWE champion. Yeah, no. Keep going. Keep grinding. Keep proving everybody wrong. That's what you've done your entire life. A lot of people are going to say you can't do something, and you are going to prove them wrong. And hopefully that starts off with running ropes and doing travel days that you don't want to. Or if it's recording content behind the camera, or it's working a job to pay rent to get to where you want to be to get to that point. Whatever it is, just keep going. Just keep going, keep grinding, and eventually everything will pay off, because the one thing that I have learned throughout my entire life is that everything happens for a reason.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.